We're going to look at a jig. This is made by a friend of mine down in Craig Lapiana with Chefware kits. Happens to be one of my dealers too, but Craig and I go back a ways, and in fact Bob and I both have one of his earlier versions of this threading jig. This is the new one. It's really nice. The other one was okay, and I've threaded a lot of stuff with it. So
what does that one cost?
This one is about $385, something like that. It's a little under $400. And I can tell you, I have used the one Best Wood Tools makes, which is about $800. And this thing will do everything it will do, and some stuff it won't. And I'll show it to you this evening. But Craig's redesigned it. I was in Colorado last week at Rocky Mountain Symposium, and he gave me one if I would demo it for the club. And I said, well, I'll be doing a demo probably in a few days. So here we are. But it's a great device. I've used the other one a lot. I haven't used this one an awful lot. But the principle is the same, and one of the issues that he ran into, and I'm going to show you how to solve it, there's 3 really critical settings for this thing. One of them you'll set and probably pretty much forget, because once it's locked in, it's locked in. The other 2 are very critical, like in your threading, but they're also very easy to do. That's the key in the process. So one of them he didn't realize, and I'll show you what the Achilles heel was in the thing before. But this one uses dovetails, slides back and forth, really solid unit. He's having it made in New Hampshire now. The gentleman up there, you got a really nice shop, so they're coming out of there. But it's about $385. This one I'm going to demo this evening has a 3/4 16 pitch on it. He has several different thread sizes. I'm going to do this one and debunk one thing that a lot of people think is you can't thread softwood like pine and things like that. Yes, you can, and that's what we're going to do this evening. So I thought I'd try to kill 2 birds with 1 stone, show you how this threading jig works, and also prove to you and make you comfortable if you are turning some softer woods. You can definitely thread them. One little trick, and there's nothing to it. So we'll go through that. Okay, so that having been said, we'll start. Now again, this is not going to be a box turning demo. I'm going to turn a real rough box and just enough space in it that I can thread it. So no box turning demo. It'll look like that, but it ain't going to be a box turning. Some of the key parts about it. This is a piece that I threaded. I won't tell you how it got in this shape, but this is. It was actually a pet urn that I was working on, and I was polishing it with a Beal buff until whoop, caught it right there, and it shot across the room and broke into actually 3 pieces, but this was one of the remaining pieces. But I'm going to pass this around and show you the kind of threading that you can do with this thing while I'm doing a little rough out stuff over here.
On that note, there's a demo on the internet that I just got today, and a guy is buffing with the Beal thing, and he's almost done, and it's a nice vessel that he's gone to the bandsaw and cut the side of it out, and then put stuff inside, and he's just going to town, and he's just finishing it up, and his lamp cord gets tangled in the Beal buffer, and then it switches to slow motion. It just, here goes the lamp.
I probably had 5 minutes of work left to do on that piece right there. Until I started all over again. I've never had trouble with it before, but then I paid more attention, and I turned it over for whatever reason. The buff caught that top edge. And I don't think there has been a rifle that's ever made it with fire a bullet as fast as that thing went across the room. And out of my hands, I was like, what just happened?
I had an acorn cap piece that was a 1/16 of an inch thick, that was about this big, that got caught in the Beal, slung it clean across the shop. The only thing it did to it, other than damage the finish, was it chipped the wood rim. I put it back in the vacuum chuck, trued the rim back up, refinished it, and it's gone.
Yeah.
So, I can tell you.
You'll never know.
Yeah, the Beal is a wonderful device, but it also does have, like Darth Vader, it does have a dark side. Well, Phil had asked me about this piece of timber. Just to give you a little bit of history on it, which is maybe interesting, maybe not. I picked this up out of my grandfather's barn about 4 months ago. And it's been in his barn since 1945. It was a, I believe was a railroad tie or something at one time, or a bridge timber. He had 9 of them in there. We brought them back with us. We went up and opened the barn. First time it's been open in 25 years. It was like going into a treasure trove filled with junk. But he was a blacksmith and quit blacksmithing after tractors found their way into Oklahoma. Nobody needed their mules shoed anymore, so he took the blacksmith shop down, made a barn out of it, and stored a bunch of stuff, and then unfortunately passed away not too long after that. So this has been trying for a very long time, so I don't know exactly how it's going to work, but we'll see. Rough it down into a cylinder so we can do a little threading. Maybe. You getting it on you yet?
That's it.
Oh. Let me turn it up there. More speed. Now what I'm going to do is ask you to hold your applause until later.
No problem.
Okay. Just wanted to be clear about that. I know you're sitting there ready to go, wow, look at that guy go. All right, that's close enough. That's round. We'll smooth it up just a little bit. And then we'll try to make a box out of this thing here. Kind of a crude box, but let's see what happens here. What?
Is that a piece of the yellow on it?
Yeah.
I don't smell it.
Smells a little creosote, doesn't it? Of course, it might be something in the barn, I don't know. Yeah, that'll work. In case you're wondering, I'm getting all these tools, those wonderful walking tools. Just so you know. It didn't come completely with the logo.
Well, there's some crack, leather.
Back to 4, 5, 2. Well, what we'll do,
Well, yeah, I can have my EIN and say I'm not that.
we'll pretend this is going to be a little round box. And it'll kind of resemble out here in a little while. I want to make sure there's no cracks or anything in this thing. Okay. So what we'll do is we'll turn it with a lid that's, say, about there. And I'm going to turn this one so that when I turn the box, we'll thread the interior of the box like you saw on that piece I did a while ago. And then I'll turn a lip on the bottom of the lid, and we'll thread that so that it screws into the box. In that situation, this is going to be like the top part of the system right here. This will be the lid. And I'm going to go about 3/8 or so. That's the section we'll thread. That'll be on the lid. You only need about 3 or 4 threads on the lid to make it work very, very well. You don't have to big long threads enough. And then the base of it will be down here. I'll thread that fairly deep. You can thread it as much as you want. Really up to you. And you can make this obviously as long as you want. It's up to you.
Maybe you can answer this. Is
Yeah.
there a preferred thread size, generally speaking?
I have used, what I use most of the time is a 3/4 16. Simply because what I have found now in some really hardwoods like mesquite and things like that, you can use a finer thread.
Right.
But I'll show you a little problem you're running into with that and how to get around. That's why I really do almost all of mine in 3/4 16 because it gives me a bigger thread. It's easier to control, but in a wood like Kirk was passing around, it probably would work really well with one of the finer threads in the thing.
Yeah.
He's got 6 or 8 different thread patterns, but this is the one I've worked with the most, and I just prefer it.
Yeah.
It's saying 3/4 16. The 16 is 16 threads per inch.
16 threads per inch, 3/4 inch in diameter. That's
That's just.
not bad.
It's still 60.
That's this right here.
All right.
Right, that's 3/4 16.
Okay.
The key is at 16 threads per inch.
So that doesn't go to the piece returning. It goes on actually.
That's correct.
All right.
But that's going to set your thread pitch. Now I use a bigger thread pitch on it, and I'll show you a way around to keep the stuff from breaking out and tearing out. And I use it on hardwoods as well as softwoods. But I like that one, but there's, the sky's the limit. Craig's got a bunch of different thread patterns, but this is one I prefer. It really has a lot of detail. Okay, so
So because of that gadget, you can do it on any wood.
yeah.
I heard that the opinion was that threading doesn't hold up.
I'm here to debunk that theory. This is pine. It doesn't get much softer than so maybe cypress or something like that. So, albeit it is dried out, pretty dry now. I don't get a lot of moisture out of it since it's been in like 60 years now. It's been drying out. So this will be basically my lid. This is going to be the base of the box. Again, I'm not going to do much with it other than just get enough room in there that I can thread it. Just to give you the idea, the box is a whole different issue. We'll do that later. Okay, so that having been said, I'm going to turn just a bead on this guy right here. Just because I like that style. That's awesome. You can also, if you're really facile with a spindle gouge, you can turn that with a spindle gouge. I prefer this. It's far more reproducible. These are, by the way, if you haven't, Johnny Collins is demoing these things. That's a D-Way beading tool. They're real nice. If you haven't tried them. I left the whole set. We use them a lot. Okay. Well, since this is going to be the outer section of the box, I'm going to drop it back just right there. Do the same thing over here. Just to give it a little decoration. It's not like they probably treated this thing with arsenic in 1895. I'm going to do a little turning on that lid just so we got. This, of course, many shapes at once. I'm just playing around with it right now. Okay, if I were turning this thing for real, I would make a little more decorative cut up here and would turn it with maybe a bead or something on top. But again, since we're doing threading, we're not doing box turning, I'm going to let it go at that. Okay, so this is going to be my lid. This is going to be the lip that goes down inside the vessel, and this is going to be the base of the vessel. So what I'm going to do right now is go ahead and turn some of this away. By the way, I'm using the center that I use is one of the one-way centers. Probust also does it, but it doesn't have the teeth on it. It's actually like a clutch, so if you get a catch, you're a little less likely to hurt yourself. All right. What I'm going to do with the lid is I'm going to just turn a little bit of a tenon right here so that I can grip it with a chuck, hang on to it. I'm going to flip it around and I'll hobble the lid just a little bit. But that also gives me a way to hang on to it when I get ready to start threading it. So I'm going to use 2 chucks. One for the lid, one for the base. You don't have to, but getting them back screwed up again is, I've never been able to get that to happen, even with my chucks. Okay.
I'll edit that part out. I'll edit that part out.
Okay, yeah, edit that part out. All right, let me see something real quick here. All right, let's put a little bit of a ton on this thing. Doesn't have to be very much. Okay, cool. I'm going to use a different parting tool. This is one of my favorite parting tools. A little thinner. But the thing I like about it, I have had this one. I don't know if you ever had this happen to you or not. If you haven't, it makes for a very exciting time. I have had this one in here and kick it over, cock it over just a little bit and have it catch. Makes for a very interesting afternoon. So I use this guy because of the wide blade on it. It's much less likely to catch in here because now the top of it's not getting down inside the cut. So we'll just go ahead and do this. And the question is, am I going to part that off while it's running? And the answer is absolutely not. I'm going to take the chickens way out. I'm going to saw that thing. I have had, I'm sorry?
You set the other end up for a chuck?
Well, yeah, I guess we ought to do that. I knew I'd forget something. Thank you. Thank you. I'm thinking, what is that?
I just like to see him thread the other end.
Yeah, that would have gone, oh, well, we can true it up again. It's not a big deal, but thank you.
I've done stuff like that.
Haven't we all?
I haven't done this very often, so as you'll be able to tell real quickly.
He wants to show the finished product. He doesn't care about the rest of it.
Where's Nick anyhow? He's not giving me a bad time.
He's at the Majestic anniversary.
Oh.
He's at the Majestic.
Whether he wants to be or not.
Good guy. Yes, Steve.
I thought it was awfully quiet in the peanut gallery out there. That's really a test. I would see if you're paying attention. You get an A. The rest of everybody else fails. All right. Happy now?
Nag, nag, nag.
Look, Ma, no tenant. Just give me a little bit.
I didn't know get some food trip to do it every day, that's why I was.
All right, now let's get on with this thing. Good, I'll get back to my sawing where I was a while ago.
What kind of chuck are you using? Push hard.
Anybody else got anything else to add to this? Do it now, because it's about to come apart.
Turn it on, turn it on.
Okay. Close enough. Yeah, I've tried showing off before, spinning these things and taking them loose, and they always just bind up and get thrown back at me. So.
Fine
Okay.
after all?
There you go. Good.
No, I got a bar over here. That works. We haven't gotten to the exciting part yet.
You'll
Oh,
tell
this
us,
is pretty
right?
exciting. I know.
Be sure and tell us when it's exciting.
All right, let's see what we got here. Here's my key.
Deeper than the Joe?
Too deep. Nah, it's okay. Don't make it work.
Find a chuck.
No, I'm gonna take that thing out. I made it just a little bit too long. This, by the way, in case you're ever thought about it, what happened here is I made the tenon just a little bit too long. And you don't want the bottom of the tenon sitting against the bottom of these jaws. That's not where it's machined flat. The flat surface is here. So I'm going to shorten this tenon just a hair so that the shoulder fits up against this. This is where it's square, not down on the bottom down there. Let me see if I can.
It keeps you from killing yourself.
Yeah.
We'll see if I can get this to work again. Close enough.
Open that jaw up.
Put the whole TVs in.
Well, you can always use super glue.
Hmm? It'll wobble a little bit, but we'll smooth it out here.
Sorry, it had been behind.
That's pretty close.
There's no hard time.
I'm going to cut off the bottom anyhow, so it doesn't matter.
You have to be sure.
The reason the little bit of wobble is not going to bother you is because I squared up the shoulder. All I'm doing is shortening the tenon a little bit and getting them out for you. In theory, it shouldn't matter. Nice little practicing at the same time. Okay. Yeah. Here. So. So we're back where we were a while ago, before I was so rudely interrupted by Phil distracted me, and that's why that happened, so you can blame that on me. Just better by the minute. Okay, now we're where we want to be. It's up against the shoulder. Should be running pretty square now, pretty true. In case you're wondering why this chuck isn't black, like all the rest of my chuck, that's one of my prototypes, and I have used it for a long time. True enough. Okay. All right, so as I said earlier, I'm not going to hollow this thing very much. I'm just going to cut it down a little bit. Just enough so we can get some threading in here. That's the other side. How much wall thickness about right there. And I'm going to square up this shoulder so that we've got a good fit. So let's make the wall about right there. That'll work. Getting about deep enough so we can thread it. That'll work. Now we'll put a square wall on that so that we can actually get a thread in there.
What's the minimum depth you need to have?
Yes, this stuff is very hard, even if it's fine. Very dry, that's for sure. Okay, that's got us a good wall. That's plenty.
What are you
for threading there. I'm sorry? That's a Badam. Multi-purpose tool. You use it for all kinds of things. I use it both. Some people use it with the angle down, like a scraper. I use it both ways, depending on what I'm doing. If I'm parting off something, I'll use it with the angle to bevel up. Otherwise, like I'm doing this, it's bevel down so that I'm getting that scraping action running in there on that side grin. Okay, well. Yeah, I think we can thread that. Let me straighten it up just a little bit more. Just a bit. And now for that thing you've all come to see. Ready? Let's do that.
Oh, with this tool, could you make a taper thread as well as a?
You could. I've never tried it. You could. I could see where you could probably do that. It would be another trick that I haven't learned yet, but there's no reason why you couldn't. That's one of the flexibilities about his jig. We'll look at that now. Okay, well, let's talk about critical alignments of this thing. We've looked at it, and it does a couple of really neat things. It moves in and out, back and forth, and it also goes this way. And it goes up this way too, but we only do that once. So, one of the first alignments that's very, very critical on it is getting it centered on your lathe. So what I did earlier, before you guys got here, I took the tail center out, put it in a headstock, and you'll notice there's kind of a cone in here. I centered it on that, and then locked this ring in place, so that from now on, anytime I drop it back in here, I know I'm always centered on the lathe. First critical measurement, or first critical setting, but also it's one you'll only do generally once, unless you move this thing around to other lathes. I don't use a rule. This is the only other one that's been through. Okay, so what's another critical measurement? Well, with threading, you know right now we've got a parallel wall here. We want to be able to run this thing in, but we also want it to be perpendicular so that when I run the cutter, it's not going in at an angle like this or going in at an angle like that. One of the problems you have. So, next critical alignment, very, very easy to do. I just use an ordinary framing square. We're going to square up the cam lock. Some people call it a banjo. You can call it a ukulele, saxophone, whatever you want to call it. I don't care what musical instrument you like for it to be. I call it a cam lock because that's what it is. It has a cam and it locks. So that's what we call it. So we're going to square that up, okay, with the lathe bed. Now the next and the third critical measurement is we're going to get this guy perfectly perpendicular to this. And that's easy to do. Now for $145 extra, you can. Now I sell these. What I found is the best way to align this thing is just build yourself a little MDF fixture and line it up. So how are we going to do that? Well, let's see. Here's how we're going to do that. Okay. Now, the other thing I have found before we get any further is the other thing you're going to want to do at this stage, which is the one I remember the most, is you're going to take, this is an exceptionally unusual material. You can get it at Home Depot, you can get it at Lowe's. Some people call it painter's tape. I call it
Alignment strap.
an alignment tool. No, it's actually a chuck locking tool. See? One of the Achilles heels of this thing, which is really easy to fix, as you're coming back, it tends to unscrew itself on here. So I have found with a little blue tape, we have now just applied the chuck locking mechanism on here, and it's not coming off. So we can do all we want. It will not come off. Not pretty when they come off. Not ugly, but it's not pretty. Okay, so we got it locked on. Now, critical alignment number 3. Let's slide this guy over here and pull this cam lock back just a little bit. Realign it. So, slide this guy up right here. And you'll notice that wouldn't be very straight. Can you see that very well? What about this camera right here? I need to move it down a little bit. There we go. Okay, let me see how I'll just move this. Okay. Now I can eyeball this, and that's where you get into trouble. And that's the one Craig hadn't figured out until I showed him what to do. It looks pretty straight, but when you get this guy up against it, not very straight at all. So we're going to bump this over just a hair. So that's nice, that's dead on now. And we'll lock down this, and we won't change this adjustment anymore either, during the duration of when we're going to do the threading. So now I know three things. I'm dead in line with the center of the lathe. I'm perpendicular to the cam lock, and now I can move this guy anywhere I want, and I'll always be perpendicular to it, because I'm not going to move this anymore.
I have a question. You said you're in line with the center of the lathe. How can you prove that? Because you've got the height right, but you don't know your Z.
Yes, I do.
line.
These front and back on the leg.
Yes, I do. Okay, now this comes along with them. I hope I can make this one. Yeah. And here's the operating side of this thing. Let's hope there's no going in there. Hang on just a second. There we go. Thank you. Okay, so the way it works now is we're going to put a cutter in there. This is a 60-degree double helix cutter, or double angle cutter, I mean. It's going to go right in here like this. Then I'm going to tighten this guy up, and that's going to lock this in place. Okay? That's where the threading hits, that's where the rubber hits the road for threading. And once you see this. Alrighty, so what I'll do now is I'll move this guy up here close. Is this in your frame? Is that better? Better? Can you see it all now? Good, perfect, that's what I wanted. That's what I wanted. I'm going to get this guy up here fairly close. I'm going to align my cam lock. Okay, we're aligned. That's this one will align. Now, I also have the ability to move this guy in and out on this axis. Okay, so what I can do now is ratchet this thing over until it just touches. You see that okay? Maybe not. Excuse my camera crew. What are we
We
putting
don't
here?
have a high-tech switch yet.
Yeah.
Don't make them.
Can you see that okay?
Yeah.
What are we gonna have to
Move
learn?
that view and tell slap on that.
What's that?
Move the other camera, try to run it over.
Now, he is, I think.
There we go. Perfect.
Both of them
There
are
we
being
go.
recorded, leave that there.
Yeah, okay.
Okay, so what I did is this. I got it close, because that's all I really care about right now. I just want it close. I squared up the cam lock so that now I know I'm running true. I'm running perpendicular back and forth. Now I can use this guy to move this thing in and out against the cutter. So what I did is I'm just up against the cutter right here. And what I have found is, I turned some of this wood the other day, it warps real fast, and this one did.
Yeah.
See it? But it'll still let us thread, no problem. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to come over here where it's closest, and I'm going to move this thing forward. This handle, little knob on the back, has a little detent on it, and it's 4/1000ths of an inch with each click. So what to do is I'm going to move it up against it, about 4/1000ths right there, lock this down, turn this guy on. Okay, not touching. Let's move it forward about 8/1000ths.
What's your RPM?
I'm sorry,
RPM on that?
WFO, doesn't matter. I've found that it works best to turn it up wide open. Okay, so still no touch, that's not a problem. Now here's, you know, you tend to think when you start getting ready to thread something, well, let's just hog it in there and go like a threading pipe. Well, you know, you just spend a lot of time working on something. Spend just a little bit more time threading. It will really pay off in dividends in the end, because if you rush this thing, it'll mess it up.
Is that still going to catch it even though it's wood?
I'm sorry?
It's not concentric.
It isn't. It's the wood. For these purposes, this will work okay. Okay, it's just touching in here, so I know I'm pretty close. The other thing Craig did that is really a nice improvement on this thing is that in the older units, the threading just ran through a block, and you had the slop that was in the thread. I mean, you know, these aren't machine thread. So what he's done is he's put in adjusters right here that tighten up the thread. So you get it where it's tight, so there's no slop in that thing at all. You tighten these two set screws down, and so you've eliminated the slop in the thing back and forth, which is a real nice improvement. Okay, I'm going to move it forward a couple more clicks here, another 8 thousandths. Oh, okay, sure. There we go. Now we go. Woohoo!
Yeah.
There we go. All right, so I've come forward 8 thousandths. You can see this wood has already warped, but that's okay.
Is the mechanism indexed at all so you know the distance you're traveling?
I'm sorry?
Is it indexed at all so you know the distance you're traveling?
No. You just have to eyeball it. I've never had any trouble with that respect. I've threaded dozens and dozens of things with this thing. Yeah, for $400, what do you want? It looks like it's going to be kind of wacky, but it'll work just fine. You'll see here in a minute. So what I'm doing is I'm moving forward 8 thousandths at a time. Remember, we're working in pine here now. This is not mesquite or maple or something that's more stable. And here's where moving forward in small increments makes a big difference, because as this cutter gets deeper, you're going to get more and more friction along the sides of this thread as you begin to cutting it. Right now we're just touching it on the tip of the cutter, but as it goes in deeper, we're going to be getting more and more grab on this thing. So that's why moving it forward just a few thousandths is the way to go.
Higher speed work too, higher speed on the cutter work.
I just want it wide open after I can get it together. I don't know that it makes a lot of difference. That's just what I do. All right, let's go another 8 thousandths, another click. You can see we're going to get some threads cut in here now. You feel the drag on it as we get deeper into the thread. Now again, I'm just putting threading in here. On this side of it, you can make the threads as shallow or as deep as you want. I tend to kind of make them ½ an inch or so deep. That way I never have to worry about running out of thread on this thing. But you don't have to do that. Not that bad yet, is it? Okay, now we're reaching that critical stage on these threads. They're just about ready to start tearing out. So what's going on is this. As I'm cutting these threads, we've got obviously a flat spot on them like that. And that's what's taking place. Well, the problem you run into, of course, is now the grain is running this direction. Breaks off real easy. Really easy. And in pine especially, or softer woods, that's especially true. Well, the way to get around that is your old friend CA glue. We're going to soak those threads in CA glue. And now we basically plasticize these things, and I can cut them down as sharp as I want and not have to worry about this breaking off. What I do, and I just eyeball it, I don't know if you can see it on here or not. That's about as far, let's see. You see the tops on those right now? See that? That's about as far as I go without adding some glue or some CA on there, because now another 4 to 8 thousandths, and that'll start chipping those off. The tops will start breaking right off. So what we'll do, we'll back this guy up a little bit and get out our friend Mr. CA glue somewhere down here. I use thin, medium thin. I mean, I don't think there's any magic in that, but I just I saturate this stuff real well.
Then cures way faster.
The key is just get the cross grain to soak this stuff up. Now you go, well, that looks kind of sloppy, but you got to keep in mind that we're still not through, so we're going to cut most of this away. All we're doing is we're threading, we're soaking the tips of those threads in glue so they don't break off so easily. All right, looks pretty good. I like it. Go out here just a little bit more. All right.
How deep are you from the edge?
Hmm? I'll thread them until they're fairly uniformly sharp at the top. Is that what you're asking me about? How deep?
No. From the edge from the lip,
Uh-huh.
how far in? Wider you do?
I 3/8 of an inch generally is plenty. Half an inch, I just ran it in a way, just kind of in and out. I didn't really try to do anything specific. Get our friend Mr. Accelerator on here.
You mentioned there's other thread patterns. Is there like a multi-start thread pattern?
All right. Okay, now what we've done at this stage of the game now is we've plasticized these threads basically. We've stabilized them so that little short cross grain is not going to break off as easily. It still can, but it's not going to do it very easily. And what I do at this point is I don't make any changes. I just put the CA in there. Now I'll run it on that same setting just to kind of clean it up a little bit, and then we'll make another cut down in here. I don't know if you have to do it that way, but that's just the way I do it. As you can see, I've changed nothing. We're spinning a lot of that CA glue out of there. Okay, that's easy. All right, now we can go forward a little bit now. So I'll go forward another. And we'll go 8,000. And you can see we're beginning to get a pretty decent thread in here now. I think I'll go 4 more thousandths, just because. But you can see those threads are starting to come up pretty good now. So I'm going to kick it in 4 more thousandths, just kind of polish it a little bit.
Paul, with the way that warped to start with, and you're cutting those threads down, can you tell whether it's warping any more, or is that?
Generally, I haven't noticed that it warps more. I messed with some of this stuff the other day, and it did change shape really fast. I was really surprised by that, but it won't affect it, believe it or not. Okay. We're going to call that guy threaded. Now, what I also like to do is I take a nylon brush.
Grass brush works too.
Brush a lot of this crud out here. This kind of cleans the threads up a little bit.
When you hand shape, you usually cut a groove at the base of that.
Yeah.
Of it.
Right.
Do you do that?
Use the hand tread, and you do what, I'm sorry?
At the end of the groove, they usually cut a relief.
Yeah, and we're going to do that too.
You're gonna
Yeah,
do that?
yeah, absolutely. But that'll go on the lid, and I'll show you why.
Okay.
Okay, so there's our threads. Some are not as perfect as others just because of the wood, dimension on the wood, and the alignments are maybe not as tight as I could have made them. But believe it or not, those will work really fine. No problem at all. Okay, so we got the bottom threaded. Now the next key is, how big do you make that inner lip for that lid? Well, here's the key.
You always start out big.
Voice of experience.
What you have basically are threads that are sitting here, you know, like so. And same thing over here. I probably won't get them perfectly, points perfectly aligned, but it doesn't make any difference. Okay, so that's my threaded vessel on the insides. What you're going to find is that the distance from here to here, as opposed to here and here, from the outside edge of it, this distance across here is 50 thousandths of an inch. 50 to 60. So your total width across here, from here to here, is about 100 thousandths. Well, why I need to know that is because...
We couldn't really see that very well.
Huh?
We couldn't see that very well.
Oh, okay. Can you sit down?
That ink doesn't show up.
I'm
So
sorry.
you gotta take into account the depth of the.
Okay, I'll explain it again. Let me get my point over here. This, I just threaded the interior vessel. Is that better? Is that better?
Look at this.
Wow, that's a nice, I better turn around like this so you can see me, right?
That's worse.
There you go.
Well, you know, what's it costing you? It's worth what it's costing you, you know?
Okay, we can see the
Okay, here we go again. What I was saying a while ago is that the depth, if we look at the inside of these threads, the depth of the thread is about 100 thousandths of an inch, about 50 thousandths of an inch on each side. Okay, does that make sense? So what that tells me is that when I get ready to do the lid, the diameter of the lid has got to be about 50 thousandths more than the interior of this. And that's all. 50 to 60 thousandths, that's all. Because if you go more than that, it tends to bind. At 70 thousandths, you'll get the lid screwed on real nicely, and then you'll come out the next day, and you'll have to get your channel locks or something to get it off. 70 thousandths is too much. You just don't have enough space in there. So what I'm going to do is we will now measure. Pretty good looking picture there.
I'll tell you.
The camera just broke.
I'm going to take loose this chuck locking device here. Unlock the chuck. Bob, you want to hold that? Yeah, there we go.
Roll it back on
Okay. All right. Looks pretty good, even for my stuff. We're going to take our little digital caliper here. We're going to measure the width of this guy. So, across from the outside of the threads now is 2861. So what I measured from here to here, right now, this distance from here to here is 2.861 inches. That's from here to here, the tips of the threads. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add 50 thousandths to that.
You have 100,000.
2.911 if my math is right. Is that right? Okay, so that's what I'm going to want. The lip of my lid to screw in there, I want that to be
Just
0.291.
Just 50?
Lots of miles.
You're only gonna cut one side.
Just
sorry?
50 or 100?
50 thousandths.
You only
50.5.
want the depth of
Yeah.
what you're gonna cut.
100 thousandths is 0.1. 50 thousandths. Huh?
Yeah, what do you cut them?
No, here's what you got. From here to here is 2.861 inches. Okay. We're going to make the lip bigger than this. So that it screws in there, and it's going to be bigger by 50 thousandths. That's going to be the diameter of my lip. All right, so let me get this cutter out of here right quick.
metric or, standard?
All right, now let's see if this is going to work.
Zorby makes a tool that,
That's all right.
Zorby makes a measuring tool for hand casing that you just expand it to the inside of it and lock it. And
Yeah.
it has the outside and you
Automatic.
whatever threads you have on it.
Yeah,
I have one home.
but we're not thread chasing. We're not hand thread chasing.
No,
I don't.
Same thread works, same thing.
Same cut.
Yeah, the hand casing would be done right.
I hear a demo going on.
God damn it. I think it's too tall for that. Well, that's okay. I will, I'll fix that. Since we're really essentially done with this. I've got the top one that's just a little bit too tall for the jaws on the other chuck, so we'll take it down just a hair.
You were just marking it so you can put it back in the same place.
Yeah. Exactly. And you're a smart ass, aren't you? If I could stop and you come up here and do this stuff. I don't have to be the only guy to make a fool out of myself. Like I say, you know, it's not costing anything. It's back in the door.
Oh, you know we love you, otherwise you
See if that'll fit.
Is that the new dome that goes on the White House?
Is that the what?
No.
Phil, be careful, I'm bigger than you are. No, still gotta come down a little more.
get take some more off.
But I can fix that. We'll take the tool here that takes that down. I'm being blinded by my own light. Have I hit you with anything yet? I'm not doing a very good job. Am I? Don't worry, even you're still young. That'll be okay, huh? All right, now then. Yeah, it's gonna work great. I'm gonna put this back up here. We'll throw your camera.
Oh, sure.
I don't really care, but I can't see. Okay, now let's go back to where we were a while ago. Hopefully. Ah. All right. Okay. So, then like that'll stay in there.
Is that likely to work about the same?
Hmm?
Would that side likely to work about the same?
Well, it's not
You
hollow.
hope?
Sure. Sure. We'll take care of that. Don't worry about it. It all comes out in the wash.
And it's not hollow, so it shouldn't move very.
Yeah, not yet. Okay, okay.
You could. Make it more tight.
All right, so this lip now has got to be brought down to the new setting, which is 2.911.
By the way, when you measured that, did you measure it in the smallest manner or the largest?
Pretty close. Pretty close. All right, that's where we want to go. That's where we want this to be, right here. Not far enough. Ain't gonna be much now. You'll also notice I take a real small cut on this lip, so if by some chance I overshoot it, I haven't blasted it over here. That's getting really very, very close. That's just about a touch, and that's gonna do it. We probably could go with that, but I'm gonna be a little more conservative with it. And just take it Just a hair more. Once I get this set, then I can cut the rest of that shoulder to match it. I'm gonna call that good right there. Pretty good. Okay.
Good enough for
Good enough. Good enough for this work. So that's pretty close. What I ordinarily do, have a, I give this kind of a little, yep, that's pretty square. That way I know whether I'm in or out. I want this, I'd like for this lip to be as square as possible, for obvious reasons. All right, let's go here. Okay, let's see how that came out. I'm pretty happy with that. Yeah, I'm pretty happy with that. That'll work. That'll work. Beautiful. Okay, now, again, this is not a box turning demo, so I'm going to just follow this just a little bit. We'll put a lip on it that's about, that's it. By the way, no, this makes absolutely no difference on the threading at this point. You don't have to hollow this. It could be a solid chunk. It's not playing any role at all. I just thought, for a little bit of aesthetic, you would hollow it out. By the way, if you do much spindle work, that is the best tool I think I've bought in a long, long time. It's a 5/8 spindle gouge with fingernail ground on it. That is an incredibly nice tool. It's like almost like having a skew, but it's really slick. That's a Thompson tool. And I'll show you a tool that we're getting ready to start. We'll introduce it before very much longer. This is the George Hatfield scraper. It was an amazing, amazing scraper. This one's made out of a 1/2-inch drill rod, but we'll make it out of M2 steel. You can see the angle on the back. Well, when you're cutting in here, the edge is always supported. This needs to be resharpened, but
That's a flat flute, there's no flute.
no flute at all. It's ground off flat across the top, and then when he puts it on the wheel, you know, can you see that okay? When he puts it on a wheel, it's up and like that. That's the action. He invented that thing the last time he was here, and we started playing around with it. It's just unbelievable when you're working with other stuff. But because it's always supported, it's not grabby at all. You've always got full support on the edge, no matter where you are. Not part of the threading demo, but there it is. Okay, so, all righty, well, now we're back to our friend, the threading jig.
Are you going to part a groove in the face of that?
Not yet.
Not yet.
No, yeah.
You do that-
I am, yes.
You do that
but not
last
yet.
after
I do
you-
that, I do that last.
Okay.
Because I know where that thread ends, then I can cut it off at that stage of the game. That way, when she screws down, you know, you're not stopped where the end of that thread is.
Right.
But it's real easy to do. I guess you could cut it now, but I always do because I know where the thread is and I can cut it there and I know exactly where it is. Okay. Back to our friend, Mr. Fred and Jay. I'm sorry?
You have to do 3 adjustment all over again?
Yep.
Sure is a good-looking chuck.
Those are wonderful chucks. Wonderful chucks. And not only that, the jaws are about, oh, well, you messed this one up. Can't use that. Gee. I'm gonna get my lovely assistant Bernice in here next time.
The disposable
Yeah.
chuck.
When you sell those, do you give?
The one thing I have found is that the color really doesn't make that much difference. Blue works just about as well as green, but I prefer blue.
Is that because it matches the color of your eyes?
Exactly. I love this lady. That's why I love this lady. Okay, so we have the locking device in place now, so we can't go anywhere. Let me get the color back in there.
Square? You gotta square up your jig first?
Yeah.
And away we will go. I almost wasn't right length. Come on. Okie dokie. All right. Same story. Let's square up this guy. Get it back off over here just a little bit. Then let's get our $1 million other squaring tool here. Yeah, that wouldn't work very well. Got a shot down here. You ought to have it on this camera here.
Can't switch to the.
Can't switch the camera?
Yeah, don't have a switcher.
I've been doing all this, and yeah, I've been able to. Holy cow. Okay, so, bring it on around. There we go, nice and square.
We'll buy a switcher when Jimmy Clues comes.
Did it? Did it? Oh, that's nice. All right, so we're done with this piece. What I said, the alignments, the 3 alignments on them are very, very easy to do. Nothing to it at all. That's what was the nice thing about it. Okay, now let's get this guy over here. We'll get kind of close again.
Get out the other end, Howard.
Can you get that in your eye? Is that better?
Wait, what?
You ain't laughing. Okay. All right. I guess you could probably square this thing up on either side of the cam lock, but I always use the same sort of reference surface all the time, just in case, just because. All right. Hey, don't be messing with my line, dude. Let's bring it back just a hair. Okay. That'll work. That'll work. Okay. Right there. Now here's another thing I found, if you can get a shot of it, Bob, Robert. As you get down toward that spot right there, have to be real careful because now the spinning cutter, the front surface of it wants to grab this thing and have its own merry little way about it. So, kind of got to watch that. Okay, we'll bring her forward a few thousandths. Right about there. Before the line.
Okay, hold it, hold it. Just a minute. This is for the recording.
Who's doing this demo? You or me?
Okay. Okay, hold it.
Yeah. Is that better?
I'm the director, yeah. I got an edit.
Well, the same rule applies with these threads that applied with the internal threads. Main issue you're going to run into, the top of that thread is going to get real weak on you because, again, it's all cross-grain in this particular piece. I'm going to go forward a little bit more. I only moved it forward 4 thousandths. I'll put some CA on there now. Yeah, we'll live on the wild side of the farm. Alright, now I'm going to go back and do the same thing we did a while ago. We'll see how I go on our friend Mr. Accelerator.
Paul, do you have a recommended supply source for that cutter yet?
I'm sorry, Lex?
Do you have a recommended supply source for that
The cutter comes along with it. What you get with the kit is the thread pattern of your desire. You also get the collet, the cutter,
The drawbar, huh?
and of course this gizmo here. You get the collar for this to set that. What else comes along with it? Maybe it. But that cutter is part of the package. Okay, I know that.
What is the suggested retail?
I think it's 385. 385.
He sells it in a spear jig together for $5.78.
It was what, I'm sorry?
He sells it and his spear
Oh, the sphere jig? Yeah, for $5.78.
together for
Yeah.
$5.78.
He's got a ball cutter that, if you want, I'll demo one of these days. It's really kind of a neat little gizmo. You look at it and you go, how in the heck does that thing work? But it swings back and forth. And the one thing I do like about it is that if you want to cut something that's like an ellipse, you just raise the center of the thing. Of course, now your radius of your cut is this instead of down here. So you can make elliptical devices and all sorts of stuff. When we were in Colorado, you know, the cutter he had before was just a M2 bar that you ground. Mike Hunter was over with him. Now he's got the Hunter cutter tool on the thing. All the difference in the world. Oh, he didn't have that swat. That's what I say. We just put it together at the Rocky Mountain Symposium last week. So, yeah, it's brand new. Yeah, have any of you ever used Hunter's tools before?
Yeah.
Oh, they're incredible. He's got the little round microcrystal carbide cutters. They are absolutely amazing. They're the ones that Jameson uses, all those guys. So if you want one, let me know. Just become one of your dealers. So, for a small but unreasonable price. Okay, so I'm going to go back to where it was. I'm not changing anything. I'm just cleaning the CA up in this stuff a little bit. All right, coming forward another 4,000. Pretty good, man. 4,000 of an inch doesn't seem like much, but when you've got the cutter getting deeper in that groove all the time, it's taking more and more material. It's quite a cut. We're just about there. Based on my own experience, I'm going to go about 4,000 more and call it done. By the way, in case you see me locking this down, what's happening is I'm locking this thing down in a dovetail. It's running in a dovetail groove in here. So this just locks it down and knocks all the slop out of it. Pretty decent for us. One more. Polish inside of it. Okay, we're going to call that done. Now, one thing you can do too, before I move this thing, if you want to test the one unique thing, or one of the unique things about this threading jig, is you can swing it out, test whatever you want, and then swing it back against the cutter, and cut a little more if you need to. So it's nice in that regard. The other, it's unique, a unique feature on his jig. Okay, let's see if it's going to fit. Clean it up just a hair.
Put it right here.
And a drum roll, please. Okay. So we got.
Action.
Is that awesome or what? Okay, let's see. Now, one other little thing we didn't do a while ago. You notice now, and that's why I'm bringing this up. That's why I did this on purpose, honestly. You'll notice that it doesn't go down all the way. Well, the reason for that is because your thread stops right there. So what we're going to do, I'm going to put it back in the chuck. I'm going to cut a groove back there behind it so that we now no longer have that thing stopping it. It'll screw right down against the lip.
Yeah.
The reason I emphasize that is because I've done it too many times in the past.
You want to do that?
Let's see where, no, I don't need that. I'm done with this gizmo.
You said you could swing it out.
Yeah, you swung it out. How do you know it's back there, Rick?
Then you just take your board.
It's not gonna use it.
Ah, okay. Okay. True.
Yeah, it depends on how far you have your
That was
thread.
tough. That was a
Now,
tough
your
thing.
plan far enough back, and then you can roll it back far enough. You always don't plan well, but
The all-threaded rod, you supply yourself.
yeah, if you got the.
It's just thread, it's all thread. Now, it also comes with that plastic handle, by the way. So, in case you're curious, yeah, that's part of it.
Of course.
It gives you a little short piece of all thread, but I don't know what it's supposed to fit, like a jet manual or something, I don't know. But you can see I just barely made it through here. And that fits my robust. Okay, so back where we were a while ago before we were so rudely interrupted. All right, so we know that it won't go down all the way. Dr. Lieber, what is the solution here? Well, the first thing we have to do is remove the locking device here,
The disposable locking.
the disposable locking device.
No, it's supposed.
You know, if the guy.
He'll mess it up anyway.
The guy that made them chucks had a grub screw with a soft tip for it, you can just do that.
Now, if this doesn't wobble too bad, hopefully it won't. About right there. Is that good? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this parting tool, thin guy, and I'm going to knock this section off so that that stop goes away. I hope. Not running perfectly true, but it ain't going to bother us. Okay, now, it needs just a little bit more. You'll notice it's still, yeah, man, I'll be able to see it. Still has a little bit of a stop right there, so I'm going to expand that just a hair. About right there, right there. Okay, now I don't have anything on the back side of that thread that would stop it from going all the way down. And to prove that point, maybe I do. Let's see here. Yeah, a little piece of. That's what I was saying earlier. You don't need but 2 or 3 threads on there, and you can see this only has about 3.
There it is.
So now, if you wanted to do something with the box, one other quick little trick here. Since you have the thing locked in place, it should run fairly true. I got it back where I had it a while ago.
that in lieu of a hand shut?
You get rid of the grooves, you know, you can do all kinds of fun stuff at this stage of the game. Now what I'd like to do too back here is I'd like to have that ring stand out a little bit, so. Now, if my wife were here, I can tell you what she would tell you this looks like. But it looks like a box.
Yeah.
Wasn't my intention. I mean, at any rate, you get the idea. But you can go ahead and do the decoration and stuff on your lid. We're all adults here. Well, that's it. That's how you talk about it.